Hey guys. Violence only just came out recently, and now that it's the new year, I thought I'd give my final thoughts on the violent. Hold on, wait 1 second. I need to pick this up. Wait, what? What do you mean that January's almost already over? Now, I did want to actually wait until I had some time to actually think about my thoughts on the Violence Layer. I didn't want to immediately, like 2 days after the update came out, just go through and be like, oh my god, guys, this is so good with all the funny haha stuff, right? I wanted to actually have some time to think about, like, all of the changes and new things that came with this layer. And after a lot of thought and consideration, yeah, this is definitely the best layer in the game. No competition, really. Like, honestly, the two layers that I would consider, like, the best runner-ups would be the Heresy and, like, Greed layers, or maybe Wrath. They basically pale in comparison to the Violence layer. Here's basically how I'm going to plan out this video, right? Is we'll be doing I'll be gushing over, like, all the things I love about this layer, like how good it is. Then I'll have some iffy stuff, and at the very end, I will talk about my one singular complaint with this entire layer, alright? Understand? Well, let's get into it. Alright, now, obviously, the Violence layer is great, right? We can all agree on that, right? I think that it's just extremely good overall, right? The combat encounters were fun. The new enemies were great. Now, Gutter Tank, yeah, I'll get back to him later. So yeah, things have worked out. I will say that out of the 4 levels, that 7-2 was my favorite, I would say. I mean, not all 4 of the levels were amazing, you know? 7-4 blew my expectations out of the park. 7-3 was good. 7-1, I would say, was probably the weakest, but I don't know. Not much you could really do about that. But 7-2 was great. I just love war aesthetics, you know? It was just great. All of the enemies were really fun to fight against, you know? Mannequins, great for parrying. I think parrying does extra damage to them. Gutter men, you know, Knuckle Blaster, you have to use Knuckle Blaster, that's always welcome. Gutter Tanks, you know, you can't get up close to them. Mines are extremely useful, you know, you can parry them to deal a butt ton of damage. Actually, you know what, I'll just do this level by level, alright? I'll just talk about each level individually right now. 7-1 was great, I like the idea, right? You know, maze-like without it being like an actual maze, right? It reminds me a lot of the earlier Limbo levels, like 1-1 or 1-2 or 2-3, right? Like, it reminds me of those kinds of levels, and I really kind of think that those levels were great. So I feel like Ultrakill should have more of those kind of levels, and more areas where you just have to, like, actually, you know, use your brain, right? But hopefully we'll be able to see more stuff like that in Fraud, or maybe Treachery, you know, in the future, hopefully. But I really liked it. The Minotaur, you know, I predicted the Minotaur, like, a while ago. I always said that there was going to be some kind of Minotaur-like boss in the Violence layer. I was correct. Might not have exactly been what I was picturing, but you know what? It fits the style of Ultrakill, so you know what? Not complaining here. I still got the idea right, you know? I thought it was going to be on 2 legs. It ended up being more like a cow instead of a Minotaur. But, doesn't matter. I really like the second phase. The first phase is kind of iffy for me, even though it's unique and stuff, but, whatever. Also, I would just like to mention here that I am so glad that the rails, like the rail cart thingies, I am so glad that they made a return, because they were like this one singular part in 7-4 and just never touched again, right? And I know it would probably have been really hard to implement it in the Gluttony, Greed, Wrath players, right? But I am so glad to see it back, and I welcome it with open arms. I'm just so glad. 7-1 in total was fun. I really liked it. Secret boss, absolutely amazing. Perfect. Literally everything that I wanted and more. I'm not going to spoil the secret boss. If you know, you know. Yeah. 7-2. 7-2 is, well, like I said earlier, probably my favorite, right? You know, there's that beginning parkour section, you know, you use the whiplash a lot, and then you go into this one room and boom, Gutterman, and he's a boss, and it's like, what? What is this? Why is he a boss? And then as soon as you, like, beat him, right, you go outside, and then you just see the atmosphere, and then you just go into this one, like, covered up area, and then you immediately see the Gutterman as a regular enemy. It's great, dude. Now, I'll reiterate this again. I love the battlefield aesthetic. There's just something about fighting a military force when you're the underdog and coming out on top. That's just, it's just so nice for me personally. I just love it, right? Throw me into a military section, and then you make the character win in the end. It's great, dude. I guess that's why I like surface tension and Half-Life a lot, but that's getting off topic. I loved 7-2. Mines were great. I love how you just like deliver a thermonuclear warhead through the end quarter or end third of the level, and then just drop it off into that one library section. It's really great. I love the I love 7-2. Specifically the more outdoor parts though. Those are great. 7-3 I think was fun. Flashlight was a little bit interesting. I kind of feel like why have a flashlight in 7-3 when we didn't have it in 4-3 or 0S, right? But like, I don't know. That opening section was great. The trees were built perfectly because they have humanoid forms in them, but they still look like trees. There was this kind of something wicked sound effect for one of the like it's for the skull things right above that door before you like go in. There's the sound effect for something wicked. I'll show it in the video, but like yeah, that scared me the first time I actually went through. The enemies fighting each other was a fun touch. I really liked that. But yeah. 7-3, I actually didn't notice this but until like my P rank run, but you can actually see the Earth Mover in the background, so that was an interesting thing. I didn't realize that until my P rank run, like I said. And my god, the Earth Mover is so good. I'm honestly going to say that it is on par with Minos Prime. It is the best main line, like without Prime Sanctum. It's the best boss, totally. It's Minos Prime level and Sisyphus Prime level. It's just so good. I would say that it's probably like maybe slightly better than Minos, but not as good as Sisyphus. We're just talking boss terms here. We're not talking like lore or anything. We're just talking about how fun the boss fight is, like in general. Yeah, the Earth Mover is so good. The entire like War Without Reason. I'm going to keep my thoughts about the OST kind of short because I'll like give my full thoughts on the OST in another video I have planned in the future. But let me just say that Bull of Hell, which I would consider the most tame of all of these songs and the least interesting, was a banger. All of these songs were bangers. But my god, it was just so good. I also liked how you fought the security system before you actually go into the brain and kill the brain. That was great, like honestly. Whew. Man. And of course, obviously, the best part was when you launched off the launch pad, turned around, and the guy just completely explodes. So good, man. Also, I was really glad to see that there were plenty of secret stuffs in this layer, right? Like, there's the Sleeping Filth, there's, Victoria running the Earth Mover, and there's just all these tiny little details, like Hakita inside of the warhead that you deliver to the door. Like, there's so many tiny little details that you probably wouldn't notice, but they're just so good, man. Anyways, it is now time for me to talk about the Iffy stuff, alright? For Gutter Tank, I think the nerf was fine. Like, it made them less annoying, but at the same time, they're now less of a threat, right? Because now I can just, like, dash through them and be like, ho ho ho, and then get the easiest parry of all time off of them. So I feel like they should have a more shortened parry window or something, but it doesn't matter to me personally. Also, would it be too far off to say that this was the layer that felt the most disconnected, right? Like, each level felt like its own kind of thing. Each level kind of felt like 7-3, right? And I don't know. I guess the layer. I feel like the layer standard for Ultrakill was a little bit disrupted. All right. If you don't know what the layer standard is, I'll just quickly break it down for you. The first level is introducing the player to the layer and putting them under a little bit of pressure and showing them a mechanic or two. The second level is adding and showing more mechanics to the player and putting them under a little bit more pressure. The third level is using all said mechanics and putting extreme amounts of pressure on the player, and the fourth level is the boss. So, the Violence Layer felt like it deviated a little bit from that, but whatever. This layer also felt the least like Ultrakill, if that makes sense. I don't know. For me personally, Ultrakill was always the first 4 layers: Limbo, Lust, Gluttony, and Greed. Those 4 layers were the first that I kind of like came into, and then immediately afterwards, Wrath, Heresy. So, I don't know. Those are just kind of my iffy thoughts, right? If I had to pick a least favorite level, it would probably be 7-1. It drags a little bit, but yeah. It's also the most disconnected from the rest, so yeah. Anyways, that's all of my iffy thoughts. I want to actually get to my one singular complaint with this entire layer. And that complaint is the yellow hook point. Now, it's not actually the yellow hook point itself. I actually think the yellow hook point is genius. It's great. Basically just like a Minecraft button, right? You whiplash it, and it opens a door, and after a certain amount of time, the door closes, right? My problem is how it's used, right? Okay, so in 7.2, right? There are 3 different puzzles with it. There's the beginning introduction puzzle. There's the second, slightly harder puzzle, and there's the third, really good puzzle, especially that ending area where you have to whiplash 4 different yellow hook points while you're above a pit. That is genius, right? It's so good. Let's see the yellow hook point puzzles in 7.3. Oh, there's 0. Oh. Huh. There are 0 yellow hook points in 7.3, which I just, it just doesn't sit right with me. I mean, yeah, sure, the trees took over the job of the yellow hook point, and I do love the trees, but the yellow hook point is still great. I feel like it could have been incorporated somewhat, at least, like at the very end of the level, right before you, like, get into that final arena or something, but woe is me, I guess. Anyways, let's look at the uses in 7.4. Oh, there's a single yellow hook point, and it can be entirely skipped by using the rocket launcher. Do you guys feel like the yellow hook point just got completely thrown out the window after 7.2? Because that's how I feel, is that it's just completely, like, forgotten. And the one time it's used outside of 7.2, you can literally just skip it by using the rocket launcher. It just feels like it was an extra step that was kind of unnecessary. Like, am I being overcritical about one single mechanic that a group of indie developers forgot to put in an extra level or two? Yes, I am. And I'm still kind of mad. So, please, if any Ultrakill developers is watching this video, please use the yellow hook point more in the fraud layer. I am begging you. But yeah. Anyways, speculation time. Now, I'm gonna keep this one short, because this video is already 16 minutes long. I don't want to go too far. In the Minotaur's terminal, you can see this blotted out name. Obviously, we can assume that the first 4 letters are king, and then there are 6 more letters. Now, off the top of my head, I have no idea of a ancient Greek or Roman or anything guy who was a king and had only 6 different letters. So, I have no real idea. Also, a really quick side thing is that, I saw this from a comment. I'll see if I can find it, but I don't know. If you go to, Do Robots Dream of Eternal Sleep and speed it up by 1.5 times, at around the 28-second mark, it will have the exact same, there's this exact same leitmotif in, here, the Siren Call Song of Death, and at like the 1:30 mark. Is this the leitmotif of the potential 3rd Prime Soul? Possibly, because this is a possible, like, because we haven't seen anybody that could potentially be a 3rd Prime Soul. So, it could potentially be in the Fraud layer or the Treachery layer. Kind of like a reverse Minos, where Minos had his leitmotifs in the Lust and Gluttony layers. This guy could only show up in the Fraud layer, but have his leitmotifs in the Violence layer. So, I don't know. There you go. There's my speculation. Anyways, subscribe and check out this cool new end card that my friend Comic made.